Ed Van Buskirk. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, we're going to do our best to power through our segment. We've, like I say, already lost a little bit of time as we've been navigating these weather alerts, and because of the way we're set up with two different feeds, not everybody's hearing the same thing. So you and I, if there is another weather alert, we'll just continue our conversation. So those who are not impacted by a severe weather this morning can benefit from our conversation. But let's jump into this Seventh Commandment, and there's a lot of different ways we could go, but maybe kind of get some thoughts initially on "you shall not steal."
Yeah, I think most people look at this commandment and go, "Yeah, we know, don't steal." That's a pretty easy one. We don't need to spend much time on that. But if we do, we're going to miss out on some of the greatness of this commandment. We look past the simple word "you shall not steal" and say, "Okay, what should we do?" It prompts the question, "What should we do?" And this commandment calls us into the greatness of generosity, the friendship and the joy of generosity. It's such a wonderful gift when we look past just the word. But there's also some aspects about the commandment, "you shall not steal," that we often overlook. And there's just some of the smaller ways that maybe we can find ourselves taking what doesn't belong to us.
And I kind of like I really like where you kind of started there at the beginning of looking at, not only what we do, but sometimes what we don't do could be framed up in this commandment of talking about stealing. And so as we kind of explore in our own hearts, where are some areas that we might need to take a deeper look at to root out the sin or recognize maybe a sin that we have neglected? What are some of your thoughts on this examination of our own conscience and where we might be guilty of this sin?
Yeah, I know one of the things that I don't look at as much as I should are those times that I should be generous with others. I should be doing something that would benefit others and put a smile on their face. And it doesn't have to be something grand or big, but just, the times that I have had something positive to say, a compliment to give somebody, and I held back. For some reason, I was too busy. I just didn't think it was the right moment. But, you think of the times when somebody's paid you a genuine compliment and how that fosters friendship. First off, you feel the joy and you feel like, wow, that was really nice that they shared that with me. And maybe I should do more of whatever it was the compliment was about. But also that friendship. When we give of ourselves, there's so much to be gained, but when this commandment and all the commandments, they protect us from something that's holy and sacred, something that is precious and dear to us. And when we steal, we damage the friendships, the relationships that we all desire. And we're damaging not just our relationship with the other person that is the victim of us taking something, but we're damaging our relationship with God.
Well,
we're called to trust God. Yeah. And when we take what doesn't belong to us, we're saying to God, I don't trust that you'll take care of me.
Wow.
And so it damages that relationship as well. This commandment has so many different aspects to it. It's one of the great examples that helps us to really take it to look and say, why did I take something that didn't belong to me? What was it that I felt lacking? What was it I coveting? What was the false god that I was trying to acquire or to satisfy that led me to taking something that didn't belong to me? And when we do take something, it's a sign of some level of covetousness, and covetousness directs us back to those false idols and shows us that we have not put things in the right order of the greatest commandments. When Jesus is asked, what is the greatest commandment? And he says, these are the greatest commandment. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment, but the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. When I take something from someone else, I'm not following those two greatest commandments. We're falling short of that. And God doesn't say that to us. Jesus doesn't say that to us to put us in our place so much as it is to show us that we need to extend ourselves in love and generosity with others, love others as we would love ourselves.
Well, so often I think in our conversations we've hearkened back to human dignity, and this particular sin, if you will, you shall not steal. The offenses against the other commandments rob people of human dignity, and when we kind of frame that thought or that aspect, and you kind of alluded to that with envy and covetousness, that again we can rob people of their dignity, and explain, kind of expand on that a little bit of how it's.
Yeah, I think it first robs ourselves of our dignity,
right?
When we take something that belongs to someone else, you think of how small that is in comparison to the generosity that we're called to. It robs ourselves of dignity, but it robs others of their dignity. And it's not just stealing something that is tangible, like you had said earlier, Deacon. It's when we take something that is intangible from someone else. You think of times when you've been telling a story and you're right to the punchline, and somebody else steps in and steals your thunder. It's like, oh, wait a minute, it just takes the wind out of you. That's just a small example, but you have somebody who's worked hard for their reputation, and you steal their reputation. You steal the credit for the work that somebody else has done. These are intangibles that are, I think, much more damaging than if you stole something that was a possession of someone else. And it robs us of our dignity. But if you came out. If you came out to your car and you see that somebody has rifled through it and taken things out of your car, that just you feel so violated, and it makes you feel like can I trust other people? It robs all of society of our dignity as a society living harmoniously. I have a friend of mine his house was broken into while he and his wife were away, and when they came home, boy, they just felt so violated. They felt so inflicted. It was like, how would somebody? Where did they go? What did they do in my house while they were here? And it just gave them a sense of mistrust of society. And that's not where God wants us to be. He wants us to be in harmony with one another and trust with one another. And that's what generosity does. And that's how this commandment is so wonderful. It calls us into the greatness of generosity and allows us to experience that joyful friendship and to come together in harmony and love, which is where Jesus calls us all to be.
Well, now that we've got hopefully people's curiosity piqued and in examining their own lives of where they might be in offense of this commandment, where can people learn more if they want to, again, explore this particular commandment or the others that we've discussed over the past several weeks? Where can people learn more this morning, Ed?
Yeah, we have a variety of wonderful resources for families, for individuals to learn these commandments, not just as a list of rules, but as God's recipe for the joy and happiness. And that they can find it at our website, godsrecipe.org, GODSRECIPE.org.
He's Ed Van Buskirk, the founder of ifyouloveme.com, a wonderful ministry that is helping to form hearts and minds, particularly in and around the 10 Commandments. Ed, we'll look forward to commandment number 8 next week. Thanks for joining us here on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thank you very much. Have a joy-filled day.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekdays at 7 a.m. Central on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.